I love Stardust Skate. If you're not familiar, it's a fairly new game created by Vchi. It's basically an endless runner, but it's a skater, where instead of running, you're on a skateboard and skating through things. Think Subway Surfer, but cool, and with like really complex and fun mechanics. I absolutely love this game. I've been playing a ton, both on stream and off stream. In fact, it's quickly becoming my most played game on Steam Deck, which is wild since that was previously Balatro. And despite how new it is, it's very clearly got a strong competitive scene. In-game, there's a official leaderboard that has highest score, highest distance. They also have a leaderboard for silly stuff like the amount of gacha pulls you've pulled for like random cosmetics. It's very fun and I do like the competitive aspect of it, but it is missing one competitive community and I think it could really do well by the speedrun community. Now I get it, it's very funny trying to speedrun an endless game. I think that is a silly idea, but it's not the only endless game to speedrun. There are speedruns of Subway Surfer. In fact, I myself am world record holder of ODISeth Chase, which is also an endless runner. It's technically more of an endless shooter, but still, a lot of endless runners have complex mechanics where there are ways to increase your speed or decrease your speed, and focusing on either points or focusing on distance, completing a certain amount of levels is a really fun way to compete in those games outside of the official scoreboard. Official scoreboard just says, these are the people who've gotten the most amount of points. It might also be nice to see the time it took to get those points, or the time it takes to cross a certain threshold. Maybe how long it would take for me to get 20,000 points versus just saying, hey, I happen to get the amount what is my record actually? Record as my time of recording is 37,300 points, which is a lot of points. I'm very happy with that. But like, it would be nice to have like a record or some sort of way of tracking, hey, these people were able to achieve getting a high amount of points in a certain amount of time. I think that's a ton of fun. Plus, unlike a lot of endless runners, Stardust Skate in particular has a level system. There are 4 environments that kind of loop through. At the end of each level, it switches to the next environment on that loop, and then after 4 levels, it goes back to beginning. And then each level also, the speed of the game increases. You go through each level at a much faster speed. I think that's a ton of fun, and that's also a really silly and fun way to track progress and to measure your sense of speed and your sense of time through this game. So there are ways where you could track, hey, you got 20,000 points in a certain amount of time, or you beat 20 levels in a certain amount of time. I think that could be a really fun competitive scene. But speedrun.com unfortunately disagrees. I submitted a request to have an official speedrun.com page for Stardust Skate. I figured, hey, no one else has done it because it's such a recent game, I might as well get on top of that and do it myself. I did the same thing with ODISeth Chase. No one had played that game because it is an extremely old and obscure game, and I figured, yeah, might as well set up that scene myself. They approved it for ODISeth Chase over a year ago. They did not approve it for this, which is wild to me given that ODISeth Chase is a significantly older and significantly more obscure game. And this is a really popular game. Like, it just came out a few days ago. There's a great way where speedrun.com could capitalize on the popularity of Stardust Skate, because it is very popular. I myself, I was really only familiar with Stardust Skate because I've been hired by Vchi to edit their podcast episodes. I had no involvement with like Stardust Skate itself. By the way, I'm not like part of the dev team, or I'm not profiting by talking about it. I don't think the dev team even knows that I'm making this or speedrunning or caring about this at all. But I do legitimately think that Stardust Skate has enough unique mechanics to make a speedrun really interesting. There's a boost mechanic where every time you land, if you press the right button, you could boost through, and it's intended so that if you're boosting, if you go at a higher speed, you'll get a higher multiplier on any stars or points that you pick up, which could be really fun for a points speedrun, but also boosting in and of itself does make you go faster through a level. You are able to progress that way. There are obstacles in the way, just like with any endless runner. If you hit an obstacle, it will slow you down, which, simply avoiding those obstacles is a good way to enforce the speedrun as well, make sure that continues going as well. There are also bonus stars in each level. There's 4 bonus stars based on each of the 4 characters, each of the 4 people of Ichiban. If you collect each bonus star, they do increase your points, but they also slow you down a little bit. At the end of each level, there's kind of a little wrap-up screen where it tells you, hey, here's how many points you collected, here's how many stars you collected, and each star takes a little bit of time. So if you don't collect any stars, it save you time, but also it decreases your points. So there's a difference there between going for a level speedrun or a score speedrun. Not to mention, each of the characters themselves have different abilities. I think, admittedly, some of them are stronger than others. If you look at the leaderboard, the majority of people are playing as Buff Pup. But Eye Candy, Rose Doodle, Shia Bun, all of them have unique abilities that could contribute to a speedrun in a different way. Buff Pups is probably the strongest for a speedrun, given that she can negate a hit. If she has charged her ability and she gets hit by an obstacle, she can just burst right through it and burst through a variety of obstacles afterward without taking damage or slowing down. But Eye Candy has a unique ability where they can slowly heal any lost lives. That could be really good for really long runs. For instance, if you're trying to go for 50,000 points or 50 levels or something obscure like that. I don't think anyone's gotten 50 levels yet, but they could do it and do it competitively. I think that would be fun. Rosedale's ability lets her fly above all the obstacles and collect all the points that were in that area, but at a lower multiplier than if she were collecting those just with the boost ability. I think Bipu Storm only allows 2 times multiplier versus the 4 times you can get normally. And Shiabun has an extra jump, which I don't know how that could be used for a speedrun. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that's a very strong ability, but if I know anything about speedruns and games like this, anything that will allow you to change your momentum or change, I mean, an extra jump is something that could be built upon or identified as a way of progressing beyond what's possible with the other abilities. I don't know. Because there's not a speedrun scene, there's no way or no reason for a lot of people to explore these possibilities and figure out, hey, maybe Shiabun maybe Shiabun's ability will allow you to go further with the speedrun, or I'm not certain, but no one has investigated that yet because no one really cares about a speedrun, and speedrun.com won't let me do that. I love speedrunning obscure or silly games that don't have a lot of speedrun intention, or games that would be kind of silly and nonsensical to do a speedrun of. I've speedrun a VR golf game. I speedran Super Mario Maker Endless Easy, where you just get an assortment of completely random endless levels. I told you about my Udapau chase. It was in a very obscure Star Wars plug-in play from ancient times. Even outside of speedruns, I used to play Super Smash Bros. Competitively, and my main was random. I did not play a specific character. I just hit random every time. And yeah, I lost a lot of my local tournaments, but I had a blast with it. It was a ton of fun being competitive in a silly way. I think Stardust Skate is a non-traditional and silly game to speedrun, but it could have a fascinating and really in-depth speedrun community if there were people interested in it, and if speedrun.com allowed that game to occur. Unfortunately, I submitted a request for that on March 23rd, and it was instantly, very quickly denied. I think they only denied it after like a few hours. Speedrun.com has said that we are not accepting endless games with arbitrary goals, which is silly to me. A lot of the best speedruns are endless games with arbitrary goals. I mentioned Subway Surfers earlier. That game has 120 active players. It is an endless game, by definition of endless, with completely arbitrary goals. You look at the categories for it. Some of them are reverse speedruns where you try to go as long as possible, but some of them are more traditional speedruns where you try to complete a certain goal in as fast as you can. Maybe score 100,000 points or 10 million points as fast as you can, or try to collect all power-ups or obtain a certain item. And even outside of that, Minecraft is one of the most popular speedruns to date. It has 485 active players. It's an endless game with completely arbitrary goal. Yeah, there is an end. There is a completion incentive. That doesn't end the game. You get to keep playing afterward. That's an endless game. Setting the end to be the actual end of the speedrun is completely arbitrary. Plus, not to mention, it's not the only speedrun. There's all achievements. There's all advancements. I think just like with completing the end or completing 20 levels in Stardust Skate, that is a completely arbitrary achievement. That is a legitimate speedrun, but it's also completely arbitrary. Balatro is a game I mentioned earlier. I love Balatro. That is an endless game. Don't tell me that it ends at ante 8. You go into endless every time. Your goal is to get as high of a score as possible. They just have an arbitrary ending at ante 8 because that's what the game said it's arbitrarily ending at. Tetris only recently found its kill screen. Up until then, it's been completely arbitrary stopping points for speedruns. Pac-Man. I mean, there are so many classic games with really good speedruns. This one's not allowed for the same reasons. But regardless, I wasn't about to let speedrun.com bring me down. I did still speedrun this game. Recently, I speedran to 20 levels. I plan to speedrun again till 20,000 points, and I am going to try and optimize my score and my time because I think this is a really fun game to try and optimize time for. Optimizing score, obviously, it's a blast. I would love to get higher on that leaderboard. I'm 22nd right now with 37,000 points, and I want to get that higher. But I think time and speed is another really fun thing to optimize, and it's clear the people at speedrun.com don't agree. I mean, just look how cool this is. Look how much fun I'm having. This is a blast. This is a really fun game. And this is me not trying to get a high score or not caring about anything beyond speed. I'm only caring about speed in these clips. And I'm having a blast. Look at me over there. I'm having so much fun. I guess you can't really tell this isn't a very expressive VTuber model. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't invest a whole lot of money in this model like the VTuber, like a lot of people at Vchi did, for instance. I'm just a video editor, I don't really care too much about model quality. But regardless, I wanted to talk with you all about this. This is a very off-the-cusp video. I didn't have a script. I put very minimal time into putting this video together, but I have had a ton of fun with Stardust Skate. Most of the people I've talked to who played it, whether they're fans of Vchi or not, have been having a blast with it as well. I would love to see a speedrun community thrive. I would love to see people strive to get 20 levels or 20,000 points or even 4 levels, for instance. That's when it loops. Might as well be an endpoint. Why wouldn't it be? I don't know. I'm just really excited about this game. I hope you are too. I want to get more eyes on it, more attention on it, and more specifically on the speedrun concepts of it, because I think this game has a lot of potential for speedruns. And if speedrun.com disagrees, that's on them.